Oh, sorry, number four video, fourth. So I think I remember, and this could have been like a reply to my second video, how um, with people, I be getting a little sketchy with them, but it's less about spiritual matters and more so how they treat people, how they talk to people, what their personalities like. I remember back in the day at this diner, it was this group of church people. I knew it, very nice, very full of charisma. And I don't mean like the church denomination. I meant like they were charismatic. They were very likable people. And I met this rude guy. He was eating at the table. He was kind of like, the diner was fairly small, so he could have been a few feet away. And these people, they were chatting. It was a big old group. And the guy diner, he was like in front, he was kind of like in front of them, but they were oriented perpendicular to him, so like an L shape. The guy was back to them, and they were in a group setting, so it was like a long form way of their group, like a long table and a bunch of chairs all around. And so the guy says he could have been like kind of a jerk. He was initially pretty positive. He didn't mind it, but he was positive. And these people were pretty positive. And then he said, "Hey, could you guys stop the yelling? Stop the loud noise." So for me, I'm like, at that time I was taking orders, and I understood the dynamics of a big table. A big table, you can't really control the volume. I mean, you can tell them to, could you please be quiet. But at the same time, it's multiple people, and multiple people, even with their inside voice, will just collectively raise the volume. So the guy was a little. I'm not even sure if he was right or not. I just knew at the time he was just kind of like, he was aggravated. So I'm like, okay, fair enough. I've seen this before. And they was like, what? What? Oh man, this is not good. Oh, I'm gonna pray for you, man. And they was like, oh no, you good, bro. All right, yeah, we'll keep it down. Like they they had a tone that was pretty reasonable, but they, from their perspective, they seem a bit annoyed. But you know how like with Christian people, they say bless your heart, and what they really mean is you got something wrong with you. Um, it was like that kind of niceness condescension. And during that time, this was like my early 20s, so they were like, back in the day they had these reformed people, and it was just like these charismatic reformed uh Christians, right? And they were, and I don't mean denomination, I just mean they were like very likable, like these people could have been in college, like post college graduates who were in church, and they were like church planners. I don't even want to say church planners, but just people who were like, you knew these were church people, but they were like, I don't want to be specific about it because this really could have been people of other races, but these are some charismatic, well-spoken black people. Now, this isn't really a stereotype, typical thing, because they weren't like your average, you know, stereotypical hoodlum type dudes or people, because it was both genders. But this group, and this is more so a tag toward all many aspects of Christianity, regardless of the gender and race, is that these people were like, they instead of being people who were like, we're sorry, that happened to you, uh sir, they said it, they said, sorry sir, we'll pray for you. And for me, I kind of told them, hey, I'm sorry, to be honest, you guys are kind of loud, and I told them that, and it wasn't on some like I'm taking sides type of deal. But it was to admit, like, I get it, I understand why you guys are loud. You're not even trying to be loud, but it's just you're a big group. It was like 8 people there, so it's like There was no way you were not going to be loud. Even if you were hushed, it was just going to be audible. It's 8 people in that group. There was no way that was not going to be audible. But I just did not like the unhumble tone. Just it just lacked humility there. And one thing I just did not like, they said, I told, after I called them out on it, they said, what? Like, it wasn't like, it was like, oh, okay, I want, like, it wasn't like rude, but it was like a misunderstanding of tone. And they didn't really like they didn't have a sense of humility. It was more so just like a kind disregard for this human life that told them you're being loud, even if it was unreasonable. And I see that same weird entitlement throughout the church, regardless of the race. I see it. I've seen it. I've seen it when I went to predominantly white churches. I've seen it when I went to predominantly black churches. It's a strange entitlement, and I think it's indicative. I kind of want to blame it on American culture, but I can't really say that because, sure, this is a post-Christian nation. Sure, back in the day, we had a lot more Christian stuff, but I'm like, what is that? Could it be this hyper-consumerist culture that just digs in his pocket and pulls out like this brand of ego, entitlement? Has the church been so just, I don't know, not slap happy, but so latched on to just culture in general that they don't know how to be humble? They don't know how to really be about loving their neighbor and being considerate? I say that because I'm only saying this because I've seen this weird, strange entitlement where it's like when they see stuff and when they see a collective like agreement or disagreement, there is this kind of snobbiness that comes out where they say, "Oh, you think like that? Oh no, I'm good." It's like a snobbishness. It's not really like a seeking to understand. You know, it's like a it's like a I'm gonna say some Christianese for a second, and I'm just going to disregard and simply I don't care. They might even outright say I don't care, you know, and make this about some being real, but it's like you're just being inconsiderate. And so for me, when I hear hear that, and I hear stuff like that, I be thinking to myself like, you're not really a person. You're not really a person of character if you can't take humility, and that's not even with the faith. That's just a person of lacking character flaws, and It's just a matter of time before people get tired of it because that's a character flaw. People won't endure a person with character flaws like that, who just can't take criticism, who are too entitled. And that's something I've just seen just a little too often in the church. We're not as we're not as judgmental, at least in an overt sense, but we're really covertly like just we just show the covert aspects of American culture. And I don't know if I can't say if that's for non-believers. And let me say, I guess I want to say this. I don't think it's appropriate for me to say this, but I do want to just say it. I wonder to myself if Christians are only nice to unbelievers. And I'm sorry, picky in a picky aspect of, you are interested in Jesus. It's like a defense, and I'm gonna dive a little more into that, but it's more so just like a picky defense. That's like, I'm sorry, a picky preference for who they want to consider to be on their nice list. Another irritation I do have is that nice list isn't just for open believers. Sometimes it really is, and it is detrimental. But another aspect is it's for political. They share that nice side to them politically too. If it's nice people who support Christians openly, they sweet to them. They nice to them. They gracious to them. God's grace is for them. He's overflowing like gravy, just poured out on them. But yeah, if it's a person that just don't meet their acceptable social criteria, they fall through the cracks of that, they're not accepting you. And in fact, you're the exact opposite of who they would bring and accept to them. Instead of teaching them, having humility, and we practice this. Forgive me. I don't think we practice this. I think we showboat, and we practice pretending like we practice it for the sake of self accountability, but we don't do that in the field. We don't practice that in the field. So that's how I feel. That's how I feel. It's like hearing stuff like that, seeing stuff like that, seeing the church act so phony, so fake like that is such an exhausting experience imaginable, because to see people just showboat and placate like that is exhausting. It's exhausting. It's very exhausting. When I go to church, I'm not looking for cool showboaty Christians, you know. I'm like, I have seen them, and then I've seen when you really challenge them on some stuff, you see the nasty part of them. When you get under their skin, I've seen it. They get at you. They're not very nice people like that. You know, I've seen them. I'm human too. I guess I'm trying to defend myself too. I have not been the most Christian. I've been very human. I have been very flawed. I have not been the nicest people. Sometimes to my mom, I'm not the nicest person. Sometimes not to I guess the females, but that's for me being awkward. I haven't been, I guess not even just awkward. Sometimes I'm petty. Sometimes I'm like kind of vain, you know, in my preferences. Sometimes I'm like petty. Sometimes I'm like, what'd you call it? What's the word? I guess like a wounded ego. I don't know what the word is, but it's like, you know, you get a hurt ego and you hit back. And I don't mean hit back. Sometimes it's like verbal hurt, you know, verbal like vulnerability. You feel like verbally, you know, you feel like like petty, you know, your emotions get hurt and you feel like you want to sit here and have a pity party or something like that. I got my own problems. That's my point. I got my own issues, and I make the choice deliberately to not settle. I vent, I have my frustrations, but I ultimately choose to improve and better my life and and make far greater choices than I have been currently making. And I keep doing, I keep striving, because there's plenty of things I don't get. Plenty of complaints I got. And that's one of the things I kind of agree in the aspect that I am graciously appreciative of the mercies of God. It's not an excuse. Don't give me excuses. It's not an excuse. But when I hear about the mercies of God and say, hey, you got mercy to change. I love that. I love that. I love that about the gospel. I love that about the gospel. I love that about grace. The Christian belief is that you can change. Things happen. Sometimes you're a scumbag sometimes I'm a scumbag. Sometimes I say stuff, I do stuff, and it's not awesome. Or I'm sorry, I'm being hyperbolic. They're not morally correct. And I'm not even saying that like, some very vicious crimes. I mean like your character is kind of slanted. Sometimes your character's a little shaky, Sometimes you're a little mean. Sometimes you're kind of a jerk. Sometimes, you know, you could be better. And the gospel says, yes, you did all that stuff, and yes, you can be better. You can be better. And that's the revolutionary, powerful aspects of God, is that mankind is on a straight trajectory. If we could be honest, I've been out here just walking amongst non-believers and they make so many excuses for their lives. For people who claim that the church is full of hypocrites, you see a lot of hypocrisy out there in the world. You see a lot of chatter, man. A lot of talk, a lot of gossip, a lot of backbiting, a lot of complaints, a lot of excuses, a lot of just this, that, and just too many contradictory things for people to blame us. At least for us, we got an incentive to change. These kind of folks, they change by response of their own problems blowing up in their face. So they change when it's necessary and when I guess it's convenient. I think that's what I want to say. It's a harsh thing to say, but they change when it's convenient. We change because we have a strong incentive by grace, by mercy, by mercy, withholding something you deserve. That's what mercy is that somebody could have stomped you out, but they chose not to. That's mercy. Please don't hit me. Please don't hit me. All right, I'm not going to hit you. Thank you. That's mercy. That's mercy. And that's not mercy from like an abuse standpoint. That's mercy from a place you deserve. That's like you stealing something and a judge has the right to take you to jail and he chooses not to. He puts you on probation or he has you do community service. That's mercy. Christ looks at, Jesus, he looks at your situation. He chose to die for you, he chose to die for you. He sees your situation. You should be, and this isn't just like you stole a pencil. This is just everything you can do, everything you will do, your human trajectory to commit sins and foul things against other people, essentially against the Lord. So I guess what I want to say is just like Christ paid a price because he knew how foul you can get. He knew the type of people we could be. And so he says, yes, I will pay that price for them. I will pay that price for them. It's not a price that I would prefer to pay. Remember the Guardian of Gethsemane says, if you will it, take this cup from me, but not my will be done, but yours. So you obey the Father. And the Father says, hey, this is a price worth paying. You're going to go ahead and die for these people. You're going to endure torture and beatings. When you have every opportunity to leave, you will not say anything. You will essentially not fight back, And he did. He went through the whole course of suffering so that we can have a chance, so that he dies a sinner's death while he was the ultimate person to not die. He's the ultimate person, the ultimate victim, the ultimate. I'm not even sure what the term is for a person who don't deserve to die. He's the ultimate person for that. He's the ultimate kind of individual who does not deserve to die, but chooses to die over the course and in place of our sins. I'm not even sure what I was trying to say. I guess over the course of our sins, in place of us, in place of our trespasses, in place of all the things that, disrespects God, disrespects people, family, creation. He dies for all that. And he says, you can change humanity. You believe that I took your punishment. I took your shame. I took all of that. All of that stuff that is offensive. I will bear that punishment and you can change. Believe in me, and you have a new start. You will have a new start. Now it's time to course correct. Make that 360. It's time to change your position, change lanes. And that's one thing I do appreciate about the new creation found in Christ. Believing that fully you're a new creation. You're a new creation. You're not that old person who used to follow all this other stuff. You believe different. You think different. You know different. That's it.